The movie opens with Odd Thomas, a young man living in a normal town, but with an extraordinary life. He has the gift of second sight, inherited from his mother who was committed to a mental hospital because no one would believe her. Among his gifts, he can see the spirits of the restless dead, those who have been wronged or murdered. Odd sees the spirit of Penny, who he knew but who has been missing for some time. He follows her until she leads him to her boyfriend Harlow and touches him. Odd sees what happened to her, that Harlow had kidnapped and murdered her and kept a piece of her blood-stained clothing in his pocket. Harlow tries to run from Odd, but Odd easily apprehends him, thanks to the self-defense lessons he has been taking. Harlow is arrested, and Penny comes to Odd, kisses him, and disappears before him smiling. She cannot speak, as spirits do not speak. The sheriff, who knows of Odd's ability to see the dead, comes and asks Odd how he knew that Harlow had killed Penny. Odd replies that a picture of Penny after her death had fallen out of Harlow's wallet. When Odd had asked Harlow about the picture, he had run, and Odd had given chase until he was apprehended. After the investigation is over, Odd feels like he is being watched. Suddenly, he is attacked by people dressed in black and red clothing with bowling pin symbols and featureless faces. They keep repeating for him to save them and take them away. Odd sees a figure who shoots and kills all of them before Odd can reach his house. He wakes up the next day with a sense of foreboding. Odd goes to the diner where he works with his co-worker Viola and her young daughters. His girlfriend Stormy, who is one of the few who knows about his abilities, comes in, and he apologizes to her for getting into a fight with Harlow, despite promising her that he would stay out of trouble. Odd serves Stormy her food and notices a Bodok inside the diner. The Bodok tells him that the unseen creatures that hover around death and disaster only show themselves at great slaughters. They did not appear when Penny died because her death was a small thing to them. If they know that someone has seen them kill, they will kill that person by any means necessary, as happened to Odd's former friend who could see them and was killed in a car accident caused by the Bodok. These creatures always hover around the person who will cause a catastrophe or to whom a catastrophe will happen. A strange-looking man enters the diner, and Odd notices that the creatures are swarming around him like he has never seen before. He is sure that the man will be responsible for a catastrophe and goes outside to watch him. Viola tells him that she had a strange dream the previous night in which her face was featureless and she was dead, surrounded by many dead people wearing black and red clothing with bowling pin symbols. Odd tries to reassure her that her dream is meaningless and that it is just nonsense. Odd follows the man and arrives at a shopping mall where his girlfriend works at an ice cream parlor. He meets her and tells her about the strange man. They see him enter the ice cream parlor and buy 2 gallons of ice cream before leaving the mall. The Bodok continues to follow the man until he exits the mall and disappears down a sinkhole in the mall's parking lot. Odd watches as the man enters his house, leaves the ice cream inside, comes back out, gets in his car, and drives away. Odd decides to enter the man's house and look around for anything unusual. He feels a coldness coming from a particular room and enters it to find a small hole in the wall, similar to the one the Bodoks entered through. He reaches out and touches it and feels his hand being pulled toward it as the hole begins to widen. He realizes that the creatures are about to come through and quickly retreats from the room and hides behind a door. He sees a multitude of Bodoks emerging from the room and fleeing the house. Stormy calls him to check on him, and he tells her that he is in the strange man's house and that he found a sinkhole filled with Bodoks in his apartment. He re-enters the room and looks through some files lying around and discovers that the strange man's name is Rob. He notices that the 15th of the month is circled on the calendar and surmises that something is going to happen on that day. Odd hears someone outside and hides. He cannot see the figure, but it is carrying a gun and has entered the house to look for Rob. Odd manages to escape from the house and goes to the sheriff to report that a massacre is about to happen in the town and that he suspects a man named Rob is responsible. The sheriff says that he will look into the name Rob and get back to Odd with any information he can find. He calls Deputy Byrne and asks him to run a check on Rob. After making some calls, the sheriff informs Odd that Rob has no criminal record or history of violence and that he is free to go about his business unless he is caught in the act of committing a crime. Odd thanks the sheriff and tells him that he is going to meet Stormy for lunch and heads out. Stormy is waiting for him so they can have lunch together in the church steeple. Odd sees Rob approaching and realizes that he is angry and has come for him. Odd quickly escapes before Rob can catch him and calls the sheriff to tell him to get to the church immediately, as Rob is there and is destroying the place. Odd goes to see his friend to get the steel heart-shaped locket that he had told him about, because of a vision he keeps having of a bullet piercing someone's chest. He has a hunch that this person is the sheriff. The sheriff arrives at the church and finds it in ruins, but nothing has been stolen, and there are no fingerprints at the scene. Odd and Stormy go to the bowling alley, and Stormy tells him that she believes her dream will come true there, and that the massacre will happen there tomorrow. However, Odd notices that the workers at the bowling alley are wearing blue shirts, whereas in her dream they were wearing black shirts. Odd is surprised to see that all of the workers daughters are now wearing new uniforms that are black and red, just like in his dream. He calls the sheriff again and tells him that Rob's plan is definitely going to happen at the bowling alley. The sheriff says that he will send someone to stake out the place and secure it. They wait for Officer Simon, who has been assigned by the sheriff to watch the place, to arrive. Simon tries to get the story from Odd, who tells him that a man named Rob is going to commit a massacre at the bowling alley and that he tried to attack him earlier. Simon is skeptical and asks Odd if he is sure that Rob was the one who attacked him. Odd shows him Rob's picture and he confirms it. Stormy tries to change the subject and asks Simon about the tattoo on his arm. He tells them that he got it when he was in college and was being reckless. They leave the bowling alley and go to Viola, Stormy's co-worker, to ask her about any details from her dream. She tells them her dream again. They leave Viola's house and are standing on the street trying to figure out what to do next when they hear a woman screaming. Odd runs towards the sound and finds a woman being attacked by dogs. He is too late, and the dogs manage to kill her. A figure shoots and kills the dogs and sits down next to her, crying because he was not able to save her. Odd calls the police, and the sheriff arrives and tells his team that the victim is Deputy Burns' girlfriend, and that she arrived at her house at 8 p.m. and has not been seen since. The sheriff believes that someone kidnapped her, beat her, and then threw her to the dogs to dispose of her body. Odd tells the sheriff that he has seen the same dogs before at Rob's house. The sheriff tells his team to find Rob and bring him in by any means necessary. However, Simon objects, saying that they have been watching Rob's house all day and that he then went to the bowling alley and they have nothing on him. The sheriff tells Odd to go home and get some rest, that he has been through enough for one day. He gives Odd his steel heart and tells him to wear it for protection. Odd drops Stormy off at her house and makes sure she is safe, then returns to his own house to find a gun lying on the floor and Rob dead in the bathtub. Odd thinks that if he reports it, the sheriff will have to arrest him, and then he will not be able to stop the massacre that is going to happen the next day. So he decides to hide it, but then he notices that Rob's body is frozen solid, which means that he has been dead for some time. This means that the figure he saw at the church was Rob's ghost, not Rob himself, and that the ghost was angry and had been dead in the bathtub the whole time. Odd wraps Rob's body in a sheet and borrows his neighbor's truck to hide it in an abandoned factory. Odd heads over to the sheriff's house to tell him, but learns that he has been taken to the hospital after being the victim of an attempted murder. Odd rushes to the hospital to check on him, and the sheriff's wife tells him that the chain saved his life, but that a bullet pierced through it, and they are trying to remove it from him in surgery right now. Odd rushes back to Rob's house and decides to search it for anything that might lead him to his accomplice who killed him. He turns on Rob's computer and finds an ad for a moving truck for sale. Then he hears a noise in the kitchen and goes to open the refrigerator to find severed teeth and fingers, until he comes face to face with Rob's ghost. The ghost tries to hit him, but because it is a ghost, it cannot touch him. However, the ghost's anger allows it to move objects around Odd and hit him with them. Odd manages to escape from the house before it explodes with everything in it. Odd keeps thinking about how to stop the massacre before it happens, and the vision of the bullet piercing someone's chest keeps coming back to him. He realizes that he needs to go back to Rob's body and see where the bullet hit him, because the vision might have been of Rob, not the sheriff. Odd goes back to Rob's place and sees where the bullet hit him, and he notices a tattoo on Rob's body that is the same as the tattoo on Simon's arm. Odd tries to think of the most crowded place in town, and he realizes that it is the mall, which is having a one-day sale. Odd is sure that the massacre is going to happen at the mall, where his girlfriend Stormy is. He drives to the mall and sees Simon's car parked in the back entrance. Odd goes inside that way, carrying a baseball bat and looking for Simon. Odd makes it to the security office and finds everyone inside dead. He manages to hit a masked figure, and it turns out to be Deputy Byrne. Odd realizes that Byrne killed his girlfriend because she found out about his plan and made up the story about the dogs to get rid of her. He also killed Rob and planted him in Odd's apartment to frame him. Odd wonders why the demonic creatures were only after Rob and not Simon or Byrne. Odd realizes that the demonic creatures were trying to trick him into causing the massacre so that they could feed on the dead. He takes Byrne's gun and sees that he was the one who shot the sheriff, but Odd's chain saved him. Odd runs out of the mall and looks for Simon, and he finds him in the bowling alley, eating with the demonic creatures, and Viola and her daughters are there too. Odd runs over to Viola and tells her to get out of there, that her dream is going to come true. Odd looks up at the ceiling of the mall and sees a huge influx of demonic creatures pouring in. Suddenly, Odd hears a woman screaming that there is a gunman in the mall. People start running and trying to get out, but all of the doors have been locked down. The masked figure starts shooting randomly into the crowd, including into the ice cream shop where Stormy is. Odd runs towards the masked figure, and the demonic creatures try to stop him from killing it. He manages to shoot it in the head and kill it. Odd thinks that the massacre is over, and he goes to check on Stormy, who is standing there unharmed. But then Odd sees the ghost of Byrne's girlfriend beckoning him to follow her. He pulls off the masked figure's face to find that it it is the man who was crying after he shot the two dogs. And Odd remembers that he is the same man who broke into Rob's apartment when Odd raided it. Odd follows the ghost of Byrne's girlfriend, and she leads him to a van full of explosives in the back of the mall. He sees one of the demonic creatures wearing Simon's body try to kill Odd before he drives the van away from the mall and it explodes. Odd gets in the van and drives it away from the mall, but Simon hangs onto the door and tries to kill him. Before the bomb explodes, Odd jumps out of the van and leaves Simon in it. The van flips over and explodes. Odd has saved the city from a massacre that would have killed at least 5,000 people. Odd wakes up in the hospital and Stormy is by his side. They are happy to see each other, and Odd asks about the sheriff and learns that he is okay. He finds out that the story of how he saved the city has been all over the news, and that he is a local hero. Rob's body was found in an abandoned factory, and it was said that Simon and Byrne were responsible. Odd returned to his normal life with Stormy, but he remained withdrawn from the world for a while and spent all of his time with her, until the sheriff and his wife and Viola visited him, and the sheriff told him that it was time to move on with his life, that it had been long enough since she died. Odd looked behind him and saw Stormy's ghost, because she had died when the masked figure shot up the ice cream shop in the mall. Odd had been living with her ghost because he refused to accept that she was dead, so he convinced himself that she was still alive and with him. Odd walked over to her and hugged her, and he looked at her and cried and told her goodbye, and then Stormy disappeared in front of him.